Why hello there, fellow viewers. I'm DJ301. You may know me best on DeviantArt for doing fan art critiques or writing analysis for True Blood, which in no way has too much plot summary. God, why are they doing that format? But enough about me. Now, as many of you already know, Season 6 of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic has finished, and the 7th season isn't too far around the corner. Now, I'm really impressed that even at this point, both the series and the fandom are still going strong. But what's even more fascinating is the batch of new characters this past season has brought us. Whether it be a cynical Earth Pony, an excitable Griffin, or a strong-willed Dragon, there is clearly a batch of colorful characters. But as a world-renowned art critic, I thought I wanted to see so many different interpretations of these newbies. That's why I started the New Character Art Challenge, where artists were tasked with drawing a portrait of a new character from this past season of their choosing. Based on how many submissions we would receive, we would select several finalists, and they would be judged by me, Fox Swiftpaw, Lucky Knights, Rexlair, and Alicia Lannis. Each drawing was judged on whether or not it was expressing a clear theme or idea, if it was doing something that no other drawing has done before, if it was skillfully created, and whether or not it was provoking an emotion or thoughts. Once we finish presenting all the candidates, you'll be able to go to polleverywhere.com where you can vote on which drawing you want to see win. Prizes will be given out by Pepper Scratch, Arniska, and Alderbertus. After 3 months of the submission period, during which I annoyed every last MLP artist on the site about this competition, we narrowed it down to at least 20 drawings, which we'll be going over during this 5-part video. So, without further ado, let's get to it! Our first character is some pony that I'm sure many of us were eager to be introduced to. First hinted at in Season 5, she's Princess Cadence in Shining Armor's new bundle of joy that's destined to rule the Crystal Empire. She's powerful, she's unstoppable, she's Princess Flurryheart, the buoyant baby. Honestly, there's not really much to say about Flurryheart, because she's a baby. You can't really comment on her personality. Babies don't have personalities, unless you're Stewie Griffin or the Boss Baby. And frankly, when I first saw her, I thought of one thing and one thing only. But I will be fair here. Unlike Baby Poof, it doesn't seem like they're just adding her in to keep the show relevant. It does feel like they actually want to work with her as best as possible. Plus, I can say that because Flurryheart hasn't been given too much attention in the past season, there's still plenty of possibilities. Sure, her out-of-control magic seems to be gone, and most of the characters haven't really been impacted by her, but you can still get a lot of material out of her. Perhaps there can be an episode where each member of the main 6 tries to spend time with Flurryheart, showing how each of them would nurture an infant. There is a great chance for her to shake things up. Plus, I'll be honest and say that I can't get over how freaking adorable she looks. Seriously, she might be giving Kate Reed a run for her money. So yeah, Flurryheart should definitely be given a chance, because like a real baby, she has great potential. Since Flurryheart is young, many artists had the challenge of drawing her as an adult. While that may sound like a cop-out, it's the believability of each piece that matters. Our first drawing depicts her as an older pony, uniting unlikely heroes to take on the forces of evil. Titled Off to Adventure, a contest entry, this is the entry from writer and friendly animator, Pretty Pegasus Wings. This picture gives a wonderful idea as to what Flurryheart would do as a leader. It's clear that her parents have raised her to be a fierce, responsible warrior that should always strive to find a solution. Each character seems to display their own persona too. You have a confident Flurryheart, a wise Griffin, a deadpan Yak, and an excited Ram, a creature that hasn't even been introduced in the FIM universe. It seems to perfectly capture the overall idea of the show in general. Characters from different backgrounds and with different personalities uniting as one and helping each other defeat the impending danger. Clearly this idea is great at emulating the heart and spirit of the series. When it comes to ingenuity, this picture does a great job at separating itself from the rest of the pack. Most artists have been very keen on presenting what Flurryheart will look like when she's an adult. This picture seems more intent on displaying what she'll do as an adult. That works because it gives her more of an identity. In addition, this picture also shows a Yak that's portrayed as peaceful and friendly, which juxtaposes the so-called diplomats that we saw originally. It also implies what Rams will look like if they were canon on the show. It's a really good suggestion that many may not have considered, as with the overall concept in general. In terms of execution, this piece hits the mark beautifully. Right off the bat, the general design behind these characters is dynamic, even with Flurry's outrageous hairstyle. What also works is how Flurry has a more vibrant design, so it creates a good contrast within the image, forcing the viewer to spot her first. On top of that, the detail on the background is beautifully done and has a wonderfully chilly atmosphere.
What's especially admirable is the way in which the snowflakes are drawn to look like they're falling downward speedily and being blown through the rough winds. It makes the environment feel dangerous, but at the same time, it gives an exciting energy. What enhances this are the well-drawn facial expressions. They all look like they're ready for an adventure. For criticisms, the griffin could be drawn to look like it has 2 wings, but outside of that, the design is very solid. Words cannot begin to describe all the emotions this drawing gives off. Firstly, it gives a sense of anxiety since you have no idea if our mixed group will succeed in their quest, based on the ominous Wendigo in the background. But at the same time, you feel excitement. You're ready to go on this adventure with this colorful cast of characters, see how they interact with each other, and defeat the dreaded bad guys and save Equestria! It makes you eager to see where the story is going. Overall, it's a phenomenal job done by PPW, and a great way to introduce us to their story.
While PPW's drawing captures how responsible you must be when you're older, this next entry captures how free you can feel when you're older. You're at that time in your life where you're youthful and energetic and full of life. And much like Lord, you've just received the green light you've always wanted. Drawn by gore-loving night owl Lady Neko, here is the simply titled Princess Flurryheart.
Here we see the princess flying high in the clouds on a bright sunny day. Judging by the sun flares, it seems to display Flurryheart as a more jubilant pony. It recommends that once the princess reaches marehood, she'll become a pony filled with cheer and ecstasy. It makes total sense since both Cadance and Shining Armor are very kind in spirit and are very likely to teach her the importance of joy. The hint of passion really captures the thrill that comes with being youthful. This is most likely because of the smile. She's grinning as if she just pulled a prank or got her first kiss, which still displays her bouncy persona. Overall, there's a great concept here. Now, is this a concept that any other artist has done? Well, again, plenty of artists have depicted what Flurryheart will be like when she's older. Some artists have comically portrayed her as an impatient teenager, while others depict her as a bold fighter. Those are all fascinating interpretations, but this one seems to capture what she'll most likely be like. Graceful and still a little cheeky. One can truly believe that this is the type of mare Flurryheart will be like in years to come, and that can be very welcoming. The technical aspects of this picture are also very admirable. Right off the bat, the background is beautiful with its soft, blended warm colors for the sky and on the fluffy clouds. The light rays are also a nice touch and gives the impression that Flurry is pretty high up in the sky. But if there's any aspect that deserves praise, it's the wings. If one looks closely enough, they can tell that the lines on the feathers are all rather simple lines with no difference in texture of pigment, and yet the way Liddy clustered them together gives them a real sense of synergy and makes them look like actual feathers, rather than a collection of smooth triangles. Doing this is often difficult for a lot of artists, but Liddy did a great job on them. As for criticisms, the foreground could pop out a little more, even though the background is out of focus enough. On top of that, there could be a bit more shading under the left wing and mane, but outside of that, the design is pretty solid. There are plenty of feelings this piece gives off. For instance, it has a feeling of warmth and happiness, mostly due to the clouds. Not only do the clouds look smooth and pretty, but it also shows a great sense of peace with Flurry's environment as a whole, especially with the sun piercing through and shining its radiance through the sky. I feel like smiling along with FH, and joining her on her jubilant flight. If only my OC had wings. Overall, this illustration is a great grown-up depiction of the young filly heir to the Crystal Empire throne.
Flurryheart just looks so healthy and amazing in those last few pics. However, I don't think she would have developed that way if it wasn't for our next character. This stallion had to learn that life doesn't always go exactly the way you plan it to, but even then you should always give effort despite how limited your options or even your skills may be. He's a dorktacular gentle colt that's giving Twilight a run for her money, and his name is Sunburst, the withstanding wizard.
Also first appearing in the Crystalling, Sunburst was formerly a magic student before dropping out, and is later able to help save the Crystal Empire from eternal winter and become Flurryheart's magic advisor. To a certain degree, he kinda reminds me of Milo Thatch. Maybe it's his nerdiness or his socially awkward behavior. Tons of fans have praised this character for bouncing off well with Starlight, since he too had a past he doesn't like to admit. But how do I think he holds up as a character? Truth be told, I label him as one of the best new characters in the series, mainly because I find him to be incredibly relatable. Having great knowledge in a particular subject but not being able to perform the task yourself and suffering disadvantages as a result? Yeah, I completely get the feeling. So this is a certain character I would love to see more of. He was even featured in a drawing that I consider to be the best drawing I reviewed in 2016. The design of this character is also worth admiring. Everything from the glasses to the cape to the messy hair makes him very dynamic. Even without seeing the episode, you instantly want to know more about him. I applaud him for fighting against all odds and helping rescue the Empire, because it truly shows that great knowledge can accomplish anything.
So one has to assume what Sunburst did after his date with Starlight came to an end. They can make the conclusion that after what he learned from his newly found companions, he went out and tried to do friendship himself. And this first Sunburst entry depicts how anxious but courageous that first step can be. Drawn by freelance artist and tough puppy fan Beefish Productions, this is Starburst.
Ugh, isn't he just so adorkable? In this picture, we have Sunburst supposedly approaching the viewer nervously and asking them if they want to learn a new spell with him. There's something valuable to find here. As stated before, you have to consider how social he is within the Crystal Empire. Before Starlight arrived, he probably didn't step out of his house very often. Now that he has learned a thing or two about friendship from her, he now possibly has more confidence in approaching new faces and asking to bond with them. As one would see, his sureness may be slipping a little, but it's still a big leap for him to even take the chance, and I'm sure that he'll be very thrilled to know what the end results will be. One particular element that's pretty unique is that we get to see him take on a friendship-related problem all by himself. When Starlight first showed up at his place, he was forced to confront the struggles with companionship, but now we see him taking on that challenge all by himself, something that not many drawings depict. It's a clear sign that he's growing as a character. So while it's frank that a Sunburst drawing isn't anything that new, there's still something rare to find within this piece. There are several elements in this piece that are nicely executed. For starters, the facial expression he has is very cute. He looks rather charming with that look of his. It's very fitting for his character. Even the pointed nose makes him look quite adorable. It's also nice to see Beefish add the little bits of messy hair to add to the effect of him being a bookworm. There's also a clever use of reflection in the glasses, giving a good illusion of transparency. The raised hoof was also a clever decision because it further emphasizes Sunburst's anxiety. Another aspect that works well is the golden circle in the background. That way, there's at least something going on in the background, but at the same time doesn't distract from the main subject. The line work is very consistent, and it's bulgy enough to identify the shape of the character. One criticism would be to zoom out just a little so that he has a bit more headroom, but aside from that, solid execution. One of the biggest feelings this piece generates is sympathy. You just want to comfort the poor pony as he approaches this unidentified individual in the hopes that they'll want to spend time with him. He's trying so hard to expand his group of friends, and you desire to be there for him. Another emotion this drawing gives off is pride. You have so much pride within Sunburst for taking this risk, and you're incredibly sure that he'll be growing a lot more from this moment. Overall, it's a great Sunburst entry, one that definitely bursts with energy.
Now, this next drawing actually took the risk of drawing 2 eligible characters for the contest. Still, it's mostly a Sunburst picture, so it qualifies as that kind of drawing. This piece captures the joy that comes with being an instructor, and the big connection one can have with a young one. A fan of Wander Over Yonder and Star vs. the Forces of Evil, this is Mimic Productions and her entry titled My Little Pony, Sunburst and Flurry Heart.
Could these drawings get any cuter? Here we have Flurry Heart and Sunburst interacting with one another, and Sunburst wishes for the princess to never get older. This is truly adorable, and really embodies these two characters who we've seen so little of, but can agree fully with. It captures the magnificent relationship between teacher and pupil. Sunburst is happy to be influencing Flurry, and he could not ask for anything else. Not only that, but it also really does feel like Sunburst is the uncle Flurry never had. When her parents are too busy running the Empire, he'll always be there for her. On top of that, it feels like a scene we could see in the show. It wouldn't be surprising if this happens. Clearly, a lot of vision was put into this. At this point, there have been a good number of pictures featuring Sunburst and Flurry Heart interacting with each other, so this piece can't be labeled entirely as original. However, this is the first time we're getting the chance to discover what is going through Sunburst's head. It's the chance to truly gain insight into his emotions. Furthermore, you don't get that many pictures that use the background to set the mood or identify the feel, so while this idea alone isn't innovative, it still tosses in a few new ideas. Again, one element that works is the simple background, with its soothing, relaxed color. The font is also soft enough to give the gentle feel, but still be noticeable. The subtle lighting on the creases of his cloak is also nicely done. It gives the picture a sense of authenticity. The same goes for the shadow effects on Flurry Heart. Speaking of whom, the scales of her wings to her body seem very proportionate. As for criticisms, the main lines on the head and neck could be elongated so that it doesn't appear as if he's bald. In addition, perhaps there could be more headroom, and the word please could be placed above him to create more symmetry. Outside of that, there's some pretty solid execution going on here. There are a healthy number of feelings the illustration gives. The first is pity. You can't help but blush at these two cuties intermingling. You can sense so much love and compassion for them. You truly want to see them bond forever. It also has a sense of relatability. Anyone who either has kids or loves interacting with kids can understand the joyous feeling of connecting with them. But when one thinks about it, they'll realize it also feels rather sad. You know that one day Flurry Heart will grow up into a strong, mature mare, and that she won't need Sunburst that much anymore. However, it's great to see Sunburst enjoy it while he still can. All in all, it's a very touching piece, and one I'm sure won't leave people anytime soon.
Well, that concludes part 1 of the video. Tune in for part 2 where we took a look at characters that have real guts. I'll be waiting.